Well, hello, IWF sisters. We are here with another episode of Behind Her Bio. I am going to be asking those questions that get at our personal and unique journeys as women of the International Women's Forum. As you know, it's the same set of questions, but you also know we're going to get these distinct, juicy narratives that highlight the shared journeys that we all have, the common ground, the common experiences, and how we uncover that and what that means for the richness of our humanity, the sameness that we have across our humanity, and what that means for connecting us, empowering us, and creating a powerful collective experience for us as women. And today we get to do that. I'm so excited with a conversation with Kristie Paskvan. Kristie, IWF member, is a board director at First Women's Bank, where she serves as the audit committee chair and is a member of both the risk and compensation committee. She serves as the audit chair for Smith Buckland Board, a Chicago-based association management company, and for the board of NCCI, which provides objective state workers' compensation rate and lost cost recommendations. At NCCI, she is also a member of the Nominating Governance Committee. She is a member of NACD, attaining a certified board director status, and she recently joined the NACD Chicago Chapter Board of Directors. She works part-time for the Illinois Business Consulting Program at the University of Illinois Gies College of Business. As an associate director at the college, she acts as an executive mentor for corporate student projects. She's also board member for the Chicago chapter of the International Women's Forum, our organization. So we know about that. And she sits on the EWOB, Extraordinary Women on Boards. She also is on the United Way of Metropolitan Chicago Emeritus Board of Directors and the Board of Eastern National. Kristie also has her BS in accounting from the University of Illinois. She has an executive MBA from the Kellogg Graduate School of Management. And now she is here today allowing us to get behind this extraordinary bio that I just shared with you. So hello, Kristie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So excited to have this conversation. These conversations are so incredible. And I'm just looking forward to, based on how we've interacted, to get behind your bio. And with that, I'm going to jump right into it and ask, what is the most unusual or weirdest item that you keep by your bed?
The weirdest item I keep by my bed. Well, there's your typical books and things, but yes. I would have to say, I have this little ceramic squirrel that's about 1.5 inches long. It's very small.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Coco Crisp.
Has a name. Coco Crisp.
Has a name.
Okay.
Yeah, I name kind of all my little animals. And I think my sister, I actually don't remember where I got it. I think my sister likely gave it to me. She actually gave me another squirrel this holiday season. We tend to give each other funny little gifts each year. And while it moves around a lot, I know it's near my bedside there on a regular basis. So I probably would have to be that little squirrel.
And so do you have a connection to squirrel? Because I feel like I heard you say squirrels plural, so there's some others around your home.
I think it's because my family, we had a yard where we had a ton of oak trees when I was a kid, and there were tons of animals and rabbits and squirrels, and we spent a lot of time outside. I also had I was a paper girl when I was younger, and I don't know why, but my sister tends to give me little squirrels for like holiday gifts. I don't know.
Goodness, I love that. Okay, and I have to ask, what color is Coco Crisp?
He is brown and black and white.
It's brown and black and white. And then you said, and then I'll move on, but I was just intrigued too when you said you name all your little animals. So how do they get their names?
I have, for example, a little owl puppet that I think my sister also gave me, my sister that's just 3 years older than me. And its name is Merlin. I don't know how I name them. I just name them.
It's inspired. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just inspired when I see them. Yeah.
I get that. I used to have 32 Barbie dolls, and I just would look at them and the name would just come. So I get there's some type of...
Do you still have the 32 Barbie dolls?
They are at my mother's house. I do. And I keep
Oh,
thinking when the time is right, if the time ever comes, I should put them out and see how much money I could get for them because a good portion of them are still in good condition. And these are Barbies from the 80s. So
yeah.
that's like artifacts now.
Especially after the movie just came out.
That's true. That's true. And some that aren't anywhere close to being on the market and will probably never be brought back just because of how we think about women now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like you probably wouldn't have a Barbie, what was it? One was Barbie glow in the dark, day and night Barbie, just
Yeah.
with the twisty curl.
Barbie glow in the dark.
Yeah. I see her dress. It was a beautiful pink dress, but you turned the lights off and it had these green sparkly stars on it that
Oh, that's so
glow in the
great.
dark.
That's great.
And her name was Alexis. I could probably name each one and I could do her voice, but we're not going to go there. Okay. So, because they all had different voices, which I guess
Oh,
was
that's
a hidden
funny.
talent of mine.
Yeah. We'll have to explore that later.
We will
Yeah.
have to explore that another time. Um, so, Kristie, we have you here. One of the reasons, and it's one of the reasons you're in IWF, is you are an everyday hero. And I think of this as a woman who shows up and is genuinely championing for the other women around her and doing this without any hesitation or any fear of competition. It's more about collaboration and uplift. But a lot of times we put limits on how we define heroes. It has to be based on big achievements, big accolades, but we encounter everyday heroes all the time. So, who are the heroes you encounter every day and how do they inspire you?
Yeah. It's interesting. In general, I also think it's not so much what people's titles are, etc., but it's people that do what they say they're going to do. It's
Mm,
people that tell you the truth, people that you can trust, and people that just show up, right? I
yes.
grew up with parents that were by definition blue collar workers. My dad was a sheet metal worker for John Deere before my mom had a family. She was a bookkeeper. My uncle was a policeman. So
Mm-hmm.
when I walk into an office building, for example, I am far more likely to make conversation with the door people or the reception crew or the security staff because
Yes,
they show up no matter what and serve the public.
that's
They don't look at
sure.
me wondering, yeah, they don't look at me wondering whether or not they should talk to me, whether I'm important enough, wondering what my title is or what I can
Mm-hmm.
do for them. So I've noticed over time that I just gravitate toward those people because they're easy to talk to and I want to learn more about them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure in that and in those natural conversations, you probably get such rich, beautiful stories because there is that authenticity and just a genuine connection that has nothing to do with, like you said, the title. If you're important enough, we're here because you are important. Let's have this conversation. I can only imagine.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Mm.
I love talking to receptionists because you can just ask them about their day and how things are going, and they know everything. So
Everything, yes.
yeah, so it's interesting.
Most powerful people. If we're gonna go by, forget titles, but who truly has the most power? A lot of times, it's those people. Anyway, we just kind of have it backwards.
Right. Right.
But I agree. When you think about everyday heroes, it's those who, like you said, it's the trust and doing what they say they are going to do. And people in those positions, there is this more genuine connection and sometimes just a different level of integrity that they bring to their work.
Right.
Hmm. If you could thank one person from your past or two, most people have two people,
Yeah.
who would it be and why?
Yeah, that's interesting because it is hard to come up with one, isn't it? It's
Yes. Yes.
it's difficult. Immediately I started to think about people along the way that saw something in me to give me a chance. I was thinking about people that allowed me into, um, who made me yearbook editor, people that
Mhm.
saw me and said, well, she can do that, so let's give her a chance. Um, but I would have to say my dad. And I say that because I never got to know him as an adult. He passed away when I was in college.
Mm.
And so our relationship wasn't always perfect because I was a teenager, most, for a long period of time there.
Uh-huh.
But as you realize things later in life, as you're thinking about it, gee, I never got to know my dad really the way I wish I could have. And, you start to think about, he was pretty tough. He was a tough guy. He had his rules, but I'm pretty sure his life was difficult. I'm pretty sure his parents were pretty strict. There was a point in his life where he boxed for a living.
Wow.
He grew up during the Depression. He didn't have a college degree, but
Hmm.
we never went without. And he used to pay bills. He had a shoebox that he segregated into sections. And I used to watch him put money in there when he would cash his check. And he would know exactly what he needed
Oh my goodness.
for every single expense. So I think I learned to appreciate a couple things. One, I appreciate his gender blindness. He encouraged me to play basketball. He encouraged me to be active. He came to my games, even though I was in a Catholic grade school, which wasn't exactly, it was mostly intramurals, but that's okay.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
there. Yes.
Yeah, he taught us all the value of hard work. He didn't differentiate by roles. In other words, I mowed the lawn just like everybody else. I had a
Wow.
paper route. And he and mom made sure that all 6 kids went to college, despite not having that opportunity themselves.
Phenomenal.
Um, so despite the fact that I never got to talk to him about all that, I thought about it a lot in terms of, I never really ran into gender bias in my own family, but boy, the minute you get out, otherwise, it hits you when whether you're in college or whether you're in your first job.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking to myself, gosh, I'm not used to this.
And he going back to when you said everyday heroes, 100% one in your life
Oh,
as I'm listening to it, but he showed up, right? And he
yeah,
did what
he
he said he
totally
was going
showed
to
up.
do every day.
Yeah,
And really owned when I think about do what you say you're going to do, what it means to be a father
yeah,
to your children. And I think it's extraordinary too to think about during that time and how he grew up to have gender blindness because it would be
yeah,
very easy to not.
yeah. Again, something I don't know why, but we all did the same things. We never had roles where the women were in the house and the boys were outside. It was just, we were all working together,
Right.
always.
Incredible.
Yeah, if I get to have a second person, it would have to be Julie Stash. And Julie was my boss when I was in real estate. She started out her job as an executive assistant and became the president of that company at
Oh,
Stein and Company. And watching Julie was the first time I saw a woman in a position who could control, not only could she, I want to say control, might be the wrong word, but
and maybe.
yeah, she was able to command a room as well
Hmm.
as a meeting.
Hmm.
Julie taught me how to handle difficult conversations. She was whom I interviewed with when I was applying for a financial role at that company. And she had both an amazing capacity for information, but also for relationships. She was the first person that clearly cared about lifting up other women as well as people of color. And I saw her do it time and time again with the vendors that we used, um, as well as just the people that were hired. I just thought she was amazing.
Do you think her experience, I mean, she had to have some incredible experience as an EA and then going through the ranks, goodness, had to have created some level of empathy and leveraging that empathy in her with her privilege of being in the different positions that she had, which I'm guessing there was some influence there. Her journey. I mean, I know our journey is always what influences us. So I'm just thinking about the different dynamics that she
Yeah.
probably experienced, which created or motivated her to move in that way.
Yeah, I think that's probably very true. She was very good about looking at you and saying, what's wrong? Kind of cocking her head and saying, okay, what's wrong? How can I help you? But she didn't hesitate at the same time to sometimes say to you, I remember her saying to me, I was working on something and I had become the CFO of the company. And she came in and she looked at me and she said, you're going to have to learn to go from micro to macro and back. You cannot stay micro all the time. Otherwise, you will spend way too much time working on things and you need to think
Mm-hmm.
bigger.
Mm.
And I have never forgotten that. I mentioned that to her at one of our events. She's always at our annual event, and she doesn't remember saying it to me, but I have never forgotten it because it's something that always reminds me to, all right, think higher, think bigger,
Yes.
and then you can go back to worrying about a little bit about the details, but think bigger.
And again, EA to president, she
Yeah,
has something in her that always had her thinking bigger versus
right.
staying in not only I mean, relatively speaking, because I think EAs can be the heart of any organization, but you know,
She
the
was, yeah,
smaller role, and a role that was very detail focused, but somewhere in there she had a bigger vision. So that's
she
awesome.
was very strategic. She really was. She could always see the bigger picture, and clearly sometimes better than many other people, which is how she got to where her position was. Let's put it
Right.
that way.
In
Yeah,
that industry, in real
yeah,
estate.
yeah.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Julie Stash, and a big thank you to your father. Um, how did you perceive freedom as a child, and how do you define or seek freedom now?
Oh, let's see. My dad was in the Navy,
Hmm.
and one of my brothers, my oldest brother, did the same thing. And when I was young, when I think about this, JFK was assassinated, and I remember my watching my mom cry as the funeral was on TV. So I think when I was young, I associated freedom with my country, right? I didn't think so much about personal freedom because it wasn't something that was taken away from me that I had to worry about. Now I think of freedom
Mm.
far more broadly in all areas in terms of thought and speech and choice, having varied options, having the ability to move freely around the country, freedom to choose what I want to work on,
Yes.
freedom to have a portfolio life, which is a little more easily done now than maybe it was in the past. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
more accepted. It fits me better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think I do struggle with how people express their freedoms now, right? The judgment, the anger of someone if is different, and
Right.
the idea that we can decide who can or can't be free and what they do. So I appreciate my freedom a lot more. I often
Yes.
appreciate the fact that I was born here in the US, because obviously I could have been something else, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so I think I'm just much more aware of freedom in terms of
Mm-hmm.
being able to, it's not necessarily afforded to everyone equally.
Yeah. And the more we have an increase in social technology and we're able to see more of what's going on in the world, like you said, there's just an appreciation of the freedoms that we have. And even thinking about it as a child, and freedom is your country. And then as you get older and you see other people's experiences, that individual freedom, just like you said, the choices that we have that others don't, the experiences that we have that others don't.
Right. I was on the board for some time of Chicago Scholars. And
Mm-hmm.
my favorite part was interviewing these very bright students that couldn't necessarily afford on their own to go to college.
Yes.
They were generally first generation to go to college, but
Mm-hmm.
just hearing their stories, hearing their dreams, it was sometimes very emotional to have to make decisions about who was going to
Mm.
get scholarships and who wasn't,
Yes.
just based on, these kids' dreams and stories. It was both my favorite part, but it was sometimes gut wrenching.
I I have so many questions around that too, because that's definitely um how do you put value on
Mhm.
the different stories? But it also again takes you back to an awareness and a gratitude for the choices that you have. But also going back to, and you give back quite a bit, being in a position to help others expand their choices too, so that they can have more freedoms. I'm first
Right.
generation and just so grateful for the scholarships and programming that I was able to go into, because I, having grown up in East St. Louis, and seeing my trajectory versus others, those experiences and exposure helped with the personal freedom that I can have now.
Yeah.
Oh, what's a personal or hidden passion that drives you? Or is there a story from your life that has shaped you, but is rarely mentioned in your personal narrative? And feel free to share both if you want to.
We didn't travel a whole lot when I was a kid. I mean,
Mhm.
there were 8 of us, and we lived in a house with 1 bathroom.
But lots of oak
And
trees in the back. I have
lots
to
of
give
oak
you
trees
that.
in the
Yes.
yard. We were outside a lot. So it wasn't until my early 30s that I made it out west to the Rocky Mountain Range and other mountain ranges. I had no idea what those looked like, I have to tell you. And I started hiking, and was able to ski. And hiking is still something that I love doing. I love the idea that I can hike to a place that not everyone can get to
Mm,
without this kind of physical activity. There's a perseverance to it.
yes.
There's also a peacefulness to it, an opportunity for reflection. I'm an introvert by nature, so you definitely feel differently about your perceived problems when you see the Milky Way or the
Yes.
grandeur of a waterfall or a herd of elk in the early morning. So
Mm-hmm,
for me,
mm-hmm.
those things give me a lot of energy, and I'm very visual. So seeing a breathtaking panorama is like catnip to me. It stays with me a long, long time.
I love that. And how often do you get to hike?
Just, every year we go out to the Rocky Mountains. We've gone to a lot of the national parks. I've been up to Banff. We'd like to go out to, I would love to be able to hike somewhere in Europe in the Alps, just for something different. But I'm happy whenever I can go for a long walk, or, even up in Wisconsin when you're walking around a lake or something. I just really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the peace and the reflection and the energy and being able to receive that, especially as an introvert, where we get our energy internally and being inspired by all the nature that's around you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there anywhere local that you like to hike in Chicagoland area?
Probably not so much in the Chicagoland area. It's pretty flat.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Up in Wisconsin, there's a few more hills, but not a ton there either.
Yeah, yeah. And I probably shouldn't have used the word hike as much as explore. Like if there's any preserves, forest preserves, or anything that you like to go to when you can't, when you're in between your hiking when you travel.
Mm, there's a place up in Wisconsin called Kettle Moraine where you
Okay.
used to be able to ski, cross country ski in the winter when there was snow. But it has some, 7 and 9 mile hikes that are nice to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. And then, is there a time that you can think about when your routine or habits were disrupted in a way where you had to discover an entirely new aspect of who you are?
Yeah. Other than the pandemic, um,
Yeah.
when I first went to college, I was a voice major, and I have no idea
That's
what
a
I thought.
hidden story too.
I have no idea what I thought. I was sure I was going to go to Broadway. It didn't occur to me that I needed to be able to read music, and I needed to be able to play the piano and play some instruments. And so while I wasn't bad at everything, I think after one semester, I knew, hey, I'm not going to be on Broadway. B, I'm probably not going to make any money at this. So I had good grades and I didn't know what else to do, but I knew I needed to be able to take care of myself. And this is so sad. I turned to my roommate and said, hey, what's your major?
Oh my
And it's
God.
something I could do. And she said, it's accounting. And I
Oh
became
my
an accountant.
goodness.
I
Thank goodness it
transferred.
was accounting and not,
I
I don't
know.
know,
Yeah.
physical, but I don't know. Any major would be great, but
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
goodness it was
Yeah.
accounting.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I ended up transferring into the business school at University of Illinois, and talk about having to be resilient and and um, yeah, and luckily I liked it.
Luckily you liked it, right? And here we are today. Fast forward.
Here we are
Um,
today. Who could have even in a million years figured that out, that I would be, yeah, here.
I have to ask though, what led you to want to be a voice major and be on Broadway? What got you to that point?
So when I was in high school, we had a talent show every year, and I would sing in the talent show. I think I may have danced a little too. Who
Oh
knows?
my
And
goodness.
then we had summer stock. There was summer stock in Moline at, gosh, I don't even remember what it's called. Some kind of musical theater. And we did Jesus Christ Superstar one summer, and I was in that.
This is the hidden passion story right here. Oh my goodness.
I haven't kept it up though at all. It was just something I really enjoyed doing then, but I really haven't kept it up.
As you say that, because Emily always tells me I need to pick up my saxophone. I
Mm.
played, I didn't finish through high school and but I have 13 first place medals from the
Oh
alto
my gosh.
and I was good. And I
Yeah.
just need to pick it up. And now I'm like, is there some way to get like a group on revisiting our passions and just kind of going back to some of these things that we let go of so long ago? And is she still in there somewhere? And what can we do with her today?
Yeah. And well, Emily's got a band, so
That's why she keeps bringing it up to me. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, you can drop in every once in a while. Oh,
I'm
that'd be
not to
great.
that level by any means, but I would need sheet music, and I think they just kind of riff off of each other. But I do want to pick it back up, literally pick it back up this year. So maybe you should consider finding some
That'll
sheet
be one of your
music
goals. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
revisiting. Should be a revisit challenge. I like that.
Yeah. Maybe we could do that. The
Yes,
revisit challenge.
that could be a maybe next year program committee initiative
We could
is
have, yeah,
right
we could push. Yeah.
because we do our professional lives so much, but what's that thing that what would it be like to revisit that today? And it could
That's
be
an
any.
interesting concept. Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm. I have ideas for days. I just need time to implement them all.
Yeah, I have ideas too. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm always inspired. I say my gift, but it's also a curse. I feel like sometimes is seeing the potential in everything, and there's something always there every moment.
Yeah.
Um, Final question. What is a small everyday action that you do to affirm your sense of identity and authenticity?
Yeah, I don't know that I do it every day, but I do know, and I mentioned this before, that I am really visual. And
Yes.
so I have to live somewhere where I can see the horizon a little bit.
Hmm.
Need to be able to look out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I choose my apartments, etc. I'm not necessarily on a high floor, but I am not next to a building. Let's put it that way. And I'm able to at least look out. And I don't know why that's so important to me, but I
Hmm.
reflect a little better when I can maybe see a bit of the sunrise or sunset that tends to remind me it's a new day, it's a new opportunity, there's a
Right.
chance for redemption, maybe
Yes.
reminder to get outside myself. And I think it just reminds me that the world is bigger than you, Kristie. So there really isn't anything about
Mm.
your little problems that are so important that you can't like just go out and integrate with the rest of the world and do some good.
Which you do every day. So it's like you said, it does affirm you if you're able to look out and somewhere in your subconscious, that's a connection for you. And when I heard you say it, and the first thing you said was there's no building, is there's nothing blocking choice, right? You can look out and see all the possibilities and the potential, which you said is important for you when you think about defining freedom. So visually that connects to like threads together.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. That's true.
Anything else you want to share with us? These have been such great stories, and I'm so excited because I know we've done work together, but having this type of conversation, and this is why I love getting behind the bio, because we definitely can stay in the box of, okay, I know what you do for a living and how can we support each other there, but there's these intricate layers that we carry with us, and I love being able to explore them. So I appreciate you just being so open.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This reminds me of that book, How to Know a Person. And it's
Hmm.
without these types of questions, I don't know that you get to know a person. I don't know about you, but you go to these really big dinners and you sit next to someone and you ask, there's like 10 questions I can ask, like, right? Have you been here before? Why are you here? Who are you here with? Have you seen this person before? Do you belong to this
Mhm.
organization? Do you have any kids? Where do you live? Are you married? There's like 10 things I almost automatically ask,
Yep.
but it doesn't get to what you're trying to get to, which is who are you? Where are you from? How
That's
did you
it.
develop? And what are your values?
Yes. And how do you express them every day?
Yeah.
What moves you? Yes. She said those questions. I'm like, yeah, I've gotten those questions. I typically tend to ask these anyway and can make for some awkward moments because not everyone is prepared to even be in those events and share this part of themselves. So we usually revert back to me being asked those questions and the conversation stays there. So it is literally when I approach my work, even with clients, it's yes, I know who you are as an organization. I know what you do as an organization, but who are you as an
Yeah.
organization? And let's move from there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
got to get underneath the label to all those juicy and dynamic layers.
That's right.
Yes. Well, thank you for letting me get to your juicy and dynamic layers today, Kristie.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the conversation.
Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. All right. Talk soon.
All right. Take care.
Me too.
Bye.